name is Chief David Groves. I'm the Chief of Police for the City of Hartford Police Department. I'm married, I have 6 kids. I graduated from Martin Luther High School in Greendale, Wisconsin, 1986. Went to Liberty University in Lynchburg, Virginia for a year, redshirted in football out there before coming to Concordia Mequon. Played football there from 1987 through 1990. I got my degree in psych and sociology. 1992, I started with the Milwaukee Police Department. I was there until 1994 when I left for the city of Oconomowoc. I was in their police department until 2002 when I was promoted to the rank of detective. In 2003, I finished my master's in police administration. And then in 2004, I took a position as an operation lieutenant with the Village of McFarland Police Department in Dane County. In 2006, I became the chief of the Hartford Police Department, and I've been there since. I think the easiest answer to that is that there is no typical day as a police officer, and that's kind of the appeal of it for most people. I think you can generally count on the day beginning with roll call, and after that, who knows? That's the challenge. It could be a traffic accident, it could be a speeding ticket, it could be a house fire, it could be helping, assisting an ambulance lift somebody onto a gurney, it could be an armed robbery, it could be any variety of things. I think that's the appeal of the profession. Well, 60 college credits, either at the time of hire or within 5 years of the date of hire, they have to have those credits. For the most part, I think that if you talk to any of my peers, probably within my career, the bachelor's degree is probably going to become the norm that they want. We give preference points for associate's degree, additional for bachelor's degree, additionals for master's degree. We're looking for much more well-rounded individuals. Once they get their credits, then they have to attend a police academy. Everywhere, Milwaukee Police Department, State Patrol have their own academies, which you'd have to go to anyway. Then once a person has their degree, the 60 credits, and they've completed the academy, usually they call it pre-service. They'll go themselves, which 20 years ago was unheard of, but a lot of people send themselves through now. Once they are hired by an agency, they become certified as a police officer. So that's generally what you look at. As far as pre-hiring stuff, there's usually a protocol or a system that agencies will adopt and go through with their hiring. We do a written test, physical agility test. We do an interview panel with a professional peer panel. I always have a civilian representative on our panel. And then we do a background investigation. We establish an eligibility list. We do not do a polygraph test at our place, but some places do. We just choose not to. And that's basically it. The background process that we do on a police officer is the most thorough. We may do a less thorough one for non-sworn employees of that nature, but we do very thorough for law enforcement applicants. We do check references. As a rule, we try to find 2 or 3 contacts with an applicant that they don't know we're going to find. We try also to find previous coworkers, previous people that the applicant would not be aware or even think that we're going to talk to, because that's when you find out the reality of what a person is like. We actually have them supply a credit check. We do take that seriously. We do check contacts any place they've lived, any place they've frequented. We do check municipalities where their college is located. Many of them forget that. And then they say, oh, we know him well. And we talk to those law enforcement agencies in Mequon and elsewhere. So I think people need to, if that's their goal in life, they need to behave like that's their goal in life and be aware that we will be checking. And other agencies do just as thorough a background as we do. I would say for the students that are at Concordia, you're at Concordia for a reason. You could have gone to UW-Milwaukee, you could have gone anywhere else, but you came here because of a faith component. Be who you are, and don't be ashamed of who you are. Okay? What makes Concordia different is not religion. It's relationship. Relationship with a real God that you should bring with you everywhere. Psalms 127:1 says, unless the Lord watches over a city, the watchman stays awake in vain. So I think that ties in as good as anything can. Once a law enforcement agency or a police officer joins your law enforcement agencies, they go through a field training program. At our place, that's 16 weeks long. They're riding with a field training officer. They're learning the hands-on job-related tasks they have to do. By the end of that, the last couple weeks, the field training officer at our department is in street clothes, just shadowing, just watching and observing, and the officer is completely autonomous in all their decisions and things, and they're basically just being critiqued on how they're performing the job. Once they successfully complete that, the state requires that officers have 24 hours of in-service training every year. I would say that stress is probably the biggest challenge that police officers face in their career. Cops tend to be independent. We bring order from disorder. We bring control to chaos. And when you're faced with the reality that you can't do everything by yourself, I think that adds to the stress. And officers need to remember their faith, their family, their friends. They need to have a life. It's just not police officers all the time. There's nothing wrong with police friends, but you want to have all your friends. You know, that's a big one. I think personally, my faith and my family are the two keys. I have things to do outside of the law enforcement day. Keeping perspective is important. I know that there's been very serious calls involving very serious and very tragic incidents. More than once, I've stopped before I leave the house, say a prayer with my wife, say, okay, you got this. Because it's not me. Okay, it's not my department when you come down to it. I think if you keep perspective on that, you do your part and you leave the rest where it needs to be. When I was applying around, the last place I wanted to get a job was the Milwaukee Police Department. It was the only place that would take me. Once I got there, the other agencies that said you're on a list, because like I said before, that you're not certified until you have an academy, and Milwaukee puts you through their own academy to learn the way they do it. Once I had completed the training with them, suddenly all the places, little departments that had me on a list, now wanted me to come work for them. And a lot of people in my class did jump for other departments. I said, you know what, Milwaukee did come through for me, so I'm staying in Milwaukee. Stayed there for 2 years. We had an opening in Oconomowoc, went out there. There's no residency requirements, so we kind of moved around different houses and stuff out there. Enjoyed that, learned a lot. It was basically a pretty smooth transition. It was just you did an interview with a normal applicant pool. That's what students need to realize when they apply. There may well be tenured officers in the process with them. Okay, so they need to always put their best foot forward. They have to be professional and polished, and they have to sell themselves when they do these interviews. But that was how I got into Oconomowoc. Again, good agency, much smaller agency. We're there 10 years. After about 8 years, I was promoted to the rank of detective. And that, far and away, detective was the best job. Personally, I can tell you the best job I've ever had. You get to catch the bad guy. You know you made a difference because that person went to jail today. So, I mean, that was very rewarding. Finished my degree. I got my master's degree, which I also would tell people, continue on after your bachelor's. Don't wait. Don't take a vacation. It's much harder. It took me about 6 years to get it done when you got a family and a job, and it's just very difficult. There was an interview process. Actually, for the village of McFarland, was a smaller police department. It's about 11 people, but it was a second-in-command position, and I figured that would be the next step in my career goals if I could get that. I was selected, went out to Dane County. So went from Milwaukee County to Waukesha County to Dane County. You can imagine just the different prosecutorial bents of those counties was a learning experience all the way. I was there for 2 years, applied for City of Hartford. Very long process. It seemed to go forever. From the outside looking in, it seemed like it took forever. Got the call in 2006. That was interesting. That was actually an assessment center. That's another thing you might see in the initial hiring, where they have you go in and role play different scenarios with domestic violence or with, these were supervisory disciplinary issues. I had to role play while there's a panel of chiefs in all their uniforms over there evaluating everything you say and do. That's a little intimidating. But we did that. They gave you a pile of information. You had to perform a speech to your mock common council and talk about troubles in a park or something, I think.